We see a mother, a father, and their son at home. The father and son quickly leave and the mother is left alone at home. Shortly after, she gets a ring at the door. When she opens it, a man there tells her that he knew her son, Caleb. She then lets him enter the house and gives him some water. He tells her he was discharged from the military because he was wounded. And then he says that he was with her son when he passed away. Caleb told the man to check on his family, so here he is doing that. When he tells the mother, Laura, that her son loved all of them, she gets up and goes to the restroom to cry. After she comes back, the man, David, shows her where he stands close to her son in one of her pictures near the wall. Afterward, he gets ready to leave, but Laura insists that he stays. Then we see a girl lying on her bed in that house. When she gets up and enters the living room, she meets David with her mother. After that, Laura tells him that he could sleep in Caleb's room, and then she brings him there. The scene changes and we see a school. Laura's son, Luke, walks the hallway. A boy then comes to him and suddenly slams him against the locker. Then the rest of Tough Guy's friends give their verbal input to Luke. After that, he gets into a car with his mother there. At home, Luke sits across from David. Luke feels slightly uncomfortable as David just stares at him. Meanwhile, Laura and her husband, Spencer, argue alone about David staying with them. Then David says to Luke that he looks like he got hit. But Luke fabricates a lie and tells him that a football hit him in gym class. We then see Laura's daughter, Anna. She is on the swing somewhere with her boyfriend and they speak about her brother Caleb to some extent. Shortly after, she returns home. Later, Spencer and David sit together drinking beers and watching TV. Spencer offers him a few more days to stay with them. At first, he refuses, but then he accepts. On the following day, we see Luke again at school. He gets into the car and notices David there instead of his mother. Luke asks him about it and David states that he wanted it like this. After that, David asks him to tell him who gave him his bruise. And Luke goes with his football lie again. But then he sees that David is not buying it and so he shows him the group of troublemaker. What follows is David driving behind them on the road, planning to go where they're going. When they get there, David gets out of the car, but Luke stays inside. David enters the bar alone, and then, eventually, so does Luke. The troublemakers see him as he enters. When he sits with David, David orders insulting drinks for the group which gives Luke problem. Then when Luke's and David's drinks arrive, Luke tries his friend's drink and chokes. Afterward, the waiter delivers the insulting drinks to the high school kids. They sit there and look annoyed. Shortly after, two of them come to David and one of them spills the drink on him. This makes David spill his drink on the boy. But this proves to be much more unpleasant. After that, the situation escalates into a brawl. David beats all of them without much of a problem, but Luke lies on the floor with an injured face. David then tells the man there what he should do by just telling the truth. He tells him to call the police and tell them that they were serving alcohol to minors. He pays some extra money for the damages that he caused and then leaves with Luke. When they come back home, Laura notices the injury on her son. He almost tells her the truth, just not where it happened. Then Anna asks David if he would like to go to a party with her tonight. He agrees to it. Later, Anna knocks on the restroom door, thinking that her brother is in there. But out comes David and we see that she becomes charmed by him. After a while, they arrive at the party. Another girl there also becomes charmed by him. Then when they sit inside, David carries 2 kegs. A man there offers him a smoke. David takes it and then offers it to Anna. Later, David talks to that other girl, Kristen. As he speaks to her, a guy she knows comes to her and says assertively that they need to talk somewhere. When he puts his hand on David, though, he gets shoved into a wall and breaks a picture frame in the process. We see that Kristen gets excited from such a bold action. She then takes him to her room where they engage in romance. When David comes out, the man that gave him a smoke tells him that he supports him. As they keep talking, David presses him to discomfort, but then assures him that he is just playing around. Then David asks him if he could get him a gun. The man says that he can and David gives him his number. After that, the party has come to a halt for Anna. She comes to David and they both leave. He tells her that he will be driving them home. While they ride, Anna tells him about some of the problems she has with her boyfriend. David listens and responds appropriately. Then they come back home. They go to their respective rooms and Anna writes for David on a CD of hers. She then lies in bed and listens to it. On the next day, she comes to the kitchen and leaves that CD on the counter. Then she sees David talking on the phone through the window. She hides from him. After that, Anna calls the army to get information about David. We then see a man walking in some government building. He speaks on the phone to someone and tells that person to tell someone else that David has passed away. Then that man interrupts a meeting and causes an official from it to leave. He tells that man, who is above him, that Anna Peterson made a certain phone call to the army. Then he asks him about what he should say if anyone asks him what is happening. His boss tells him that no one should know that any of their subjects are still active. The scene changes to David meeting with that man that promised to get him a gun. Another man there asks David if he has any money before they can start. And David shows him a respectable amount of greenbacks. This prompts the man to get straight to business as he presents several guns to David. After that, David takes apart a gun and inspects its parts for quality. The man asks him if he's from the army after seeing him do that. David confirms that he is. Then he tells the seller that he will take all the guns. The seller gets excited that David will buy them all, but he gets told instead that he will take them from him and end his life. Instantly, the seller takes out a gun and points it at David, but David snatches it from him and fires at the man. He then tries to shoot the other man, but the gun has no more ammo. Scared for his life, the man starts running away. David then loads the gun with more ammo and aims at the man from a good distance. He shoots him down with one shot. Back at the house, the army calls Anna back with some information. She then tries telling her mother about it but gets interrupted by her father when he comes home from work. He starts telling a story about how some people might have offed themselves. Then David comes home and Spencer asks him if he would drink with him. Afterward, Anna gets a phone call and starts leaving the kitchen. Her boyfriend calls her to say that his friend has been found lifeless in the desert. It is the man that David ended. In the next scene, Anna goes to Kristen. They discuss as to whom would want to eliminate that friend of theirs. Then David and Luke sit carving pumpkins near the house. David is not satisfied with the knife he's using, so he takes out his own. Luke gets surprised and asks him if he carries that knife with him everywhere. David gives a positive to that because anything can happen. We then see Anna telling Kristen that the army told her that David lost his life 1 week ago. She adds that about 20 other people lost their lives there too. When she comes home, Anna stealthily takes David's phone from his shirt on a chair. Then she takes a picture of his phone number with her phone. As it starts ringing, she puts his phone on his bed and hides in her room. David then comes in and picks his phone up. He feels that something is suspicious and then walks away. After that, Anna's boyfriend, Zeke, calls her from a police station and says that the gun that shot their friend was found in his vehicle. Anna then comes to the room that has everyone there and tells them that her friend was ended today. And then she says that Zeke was arrested for it. Her father tells her that he was never any good and they argue about it for a short while. Then Anna turns the suspicion on to David. She tells them what she told Kristen about him. Furthermore, she asks for his ID. But all that David can provide for them are his dog tags. He states that he does not have an ID on him at this moment. Afterward, Anna gets upset and leaves after bad-mouthing her father. After that incident, David comes to Anna's room. He tells her that he's sorry about her friend and Zeke. He further says that he will leave in a few days and that she should not worry about him for much longer. Then he finds the CD that she made for him and takes it before leaving. After that, we see the government official that knows about David get into a car and ride somewhere. Then Anna rides in a vehicle with her brother. There she tells him she believes David eliminated her friend. The next scene has Luke entering his classroom. A boy sits behind him and pokes Luke with his pencil. He also calls him a derogatory name. To that, Luke gives him a dose of his fist, and then he deals with him some more. After the fight, Laura and David come to Luke. David asks him what happened and Luke tells him. Then in the principal's office, the principal tells Laura that her son is expelled for his behavior. In response to that, David brings up that a derogatory statement was used to describe Luke, a statement that suggests it is a hate crime. He adds that he will sue the school district for allowing this to happen. This leads the principal to update the punishment from expulsion to detention for 1 month. David agrees to this. After that, Luke and David discuss something in the hallway. Luke tells him what Anna thinks he did, and then he says he knows that David is not really David. But Luke adds that he does not care. He tells him that he won't say anything to anyone because he and David are friends. The following scene has David helping Laura with the laundry outside. Then military personnel arrives on their property. At the time they arrive, David has gone inside the house. Then that government official comes out and asks Laura if she is Anna Peterson, and she tells him that she is her mother. The man shows her a picture of David and Laura tells him that it's him. She then tells the man that he just went inside the house. After that, we see David standing there with a basket of laundry. When he sees the military men, he shoots some and then jumps inside the house through a window. They all then start firing at the house and Laura runs inside. Near his bed, David takes out his automatic rifle and fires it at the men. Afterward, he starts crawling on the floor as one of them shoots the house with a heavy machine gun. David crawls to Laura in the kitchen. She asks him what is going on and he tells her he's sorry, but he can't explain it now. She then asks him if he knew her son and he tells her that he did. With a knife in his hand, Laura becomes more scared and starts yelling that he's here. But David instantly ends her with that knife. Following that, David rides out in their car. The main military man shoots at it but doesn't hit David. He gets in his vehicle and rides after him with flat tires. As David rides, he crashes into Spencer's car. Then he comes out and takes the man's life. After that, David takes his bag and runs with it. The official eventually arrives at the crash site and sees another man there out of his car. He tells that man he is from the military police and that he needs to use his car. He takes it and uses it to arrive at Anna's diner. At the diner, he comes to Anna and asks if it's her. He introduces himself as Major Carver and tells her that she should come with him. Shortly after they both leave, David arrives there too while limping. He sees Kristen and asks her where Anna is. She tells him that she left. David then gives her a bullet and rolls 2 grenades on the floor to eliminate all witnesses. He leaves the diner as it explodes. While the Major and Anna ride, he explains to her who David is. Then he informs her that David took the life of her parents. He adds that he has a neurological condition to protect himself and the experiment. Then they arrive at Luke's high school to get him out, but they have to go through a Halloween maze to get to him. When they find their way out, they come to Luke. Then suddenly the lights turn off and we see David's hand put the CD that Anna made for him into a player. As the music plays, the staff there starts showing them the way out. They all follow him, but then he comes out injured. He falls and his life is over. This causes the Major to tell the kids to run while he stays there. When he's there alone, David stealthily comes out and wounds the Major. We then watch him attempt to crawl but soon becomes lifeless as well. Afterward, Anna and Luke reach an exit door, but it's locked. Luke tells her that David would not hurt them. Later, she tells him that David ended their parents. At first, Luke does not believe her, but then he sees her cry. Anna tells him to hide while she goes elsewhere. As Luke hides, he hears David talking to them nearby. He states that he did not want to do it like this. Then he hears a sound somewhere and goes to check on it. He sees shoe prints and follows them. They lead him to a pair of boots. Anna then stands behind him with a gun pointing at him. She tells him that he eliminated her parents. He confirms that he did and she fires at him. He falls, but then she can't find him because of the mist. As she looks for him, he places his knife inside her leg. When Anna falls, she shoots a light bulb and starts a fire. David tries to choke her on the floor, but then Luke uses his knife on him. He then uses it on David again and he falls. Lying down, David tells Luke that he did the right thing. Then he loses consciousness. After all that, we see the police and firemen on the school premises. Anna and Luke sit in an ambulance. Then a fireman comes out of the school limping. Anna looks at him and suspects that it could be David. When the fireman looks at her, his face confirms that he is.